All right, welcome everybody. This is another episode of What's Your Why? This is actually episode 35. And I'm here with Jason Bloom. Jason did just a few years in the Army. Before I get started, I want to say the past few weeks, the past few months have been very, very interesting. And how I met Jason was at an Irreverent Warrior hike. And he was gracious enough to allow us to go into the VA on a Saturday to do to go to the flagpole and kind of give our why. And it was really good. So then after that, I connected with him and we just, we're doing this because I definitely want him to be on this show and tell his story a little. So without further ado, Jason, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Jason Bloom. Yes, I do work at the VA. I work in the public affairs office. Been doing that for a while. I jokingly said a few years. Probably enlisted in 97. Yeah, February of 97. Retired in 2020. A mix of everything. So I'm one of those lucky folks that spent time, this chunk in the middle in active duty, but enlisted in the reserves. I was a cadet in the National Guard.
God.
Commanded units in both. I was that specialist hiding out in the back of the van trying to sleep and everything else and truck work. So I got to see the whole gambit of the military. But I went from being a broadcaster to an infantryman to a public affairs officer to a DA civilian to now working at the VA. Wow.
As a public affairs officer with the VA, Southern Arizona, correct?
Yep.
That is quite a bit. But through this, obviously, as we were talking before this, we all have a reason for joining and we all have a reason why.
Yeah.
And so go ahead, give me your story as to why.
That why. The funny thing is, I remember being as a little kid and flipping through photo albums. We don't do that anymore. And I saw my dad in a wool green Army uniform. Wool green. Yeah.
Wool. Yeah. Whatever was that?
Yeah. So I saw that and I had seen pictures of my uncles and whatnot. So as I failed out of college the first time. And I was like, I got to take care of myself. Oh yeah, the Army will do it, blah, 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 So I went the Army route. But I was smart. I was from Baltimore, grew up in Baltimore. And I asked the recruiter, well, what MOSs are at Fort Meade, Maryland, so I could stay at home? One of them happened to be broadcasting, and my uncle was in radio. And I was like, my dad did the Army, so this just works out. I'll just go there. So that was the initial why, was, following family that kind of did this. But it definitely moved to something more as I went back to school, did a lot better the second go around. A lot better second go around, and found myself in the Army Infantry in 2003 with the invasion with the platoon leader of a platoon that had just gotten back, and meeting those folks, and they honestly became my why. That time in 2005 when I went back with them for that second go round, and we lost some soldiers there, and to be a part of that really became one of the guys that died. We always challenge each other during PT. All right, so there are two people that could really beat me. All right, running wise in the unit, and he was one of them. So I do a lot of things now because of him. What would he do? He would always push me, and the last time I remember seeing before, we were actually out on patrol, and I was a private at the time. I was acting as a private at the time. I was pulling security of a gas station. We were talking and joking while the actual platoon leader was inside. I was the XO for the company, but I was on patrol that day. They needed an extra guy, and I went. I mean, that's just how I was. So that group, that was the first time being at work at a job where it's like TV and a family. And so it's that. As a matter of fact, this coming January is 20 years of since that deployment.
Wow.
And so we're actually planning to get together again. I'm having a meeting with my old commander, two of the platoon sergeants, and a couple folks to plan this reunion again.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's the why. That
No.
we've stayed close after 20 years.
And that's an amazing story. You don't get a chance to do a lot of 20-year anniversaries or something of that sort. Like that's important. So that you guys can actually do that is phenomenal. Now you did say why you joined and a little bit later why, but after your first enlistment, did you like it enough that became your kind of why? Because I mean, it like you said, it changes, and 05, that's when it became a little bit more apparent, but you stayed in longer. I mean, you did 22 years, so
I stayed in longer. It was about what could I do at the next unit for other folks, and it was never about me. It honestly was never about me. I went on to Fort Meade and did a weird command with the WTU, and it was about, soldiers in there that were at a crossroads of, I'm too sick or injured to even continue being in the military, which I had to watch them and go, oh my gosh, well, how can I help you? Well, I had taught at that point, I'd been through ROTC, I'd been through a couple things, and I was like, I finished my master's degree while I was deployed in education. So that was my biggest thing. Hey, you all go to school. I'm not worried about you working or finding some internship. Then go to school because you're getting ready to transition. Do something for yourself to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So that was one of my big things there. And so I started, again, I looked out for my soldiers. I've always looked out for them. They've always been number one. I joke about who cares about the OERs, who cares about the other stuff, because that thing it'll happen. Take care of your people, they will take care of you, and the rest of the stuff you don't even need to worry about.
Yes.
And I got lucky because I had a bunch of NCOs that took care of me, that trained me, that made sure that I was doing the right thing, that made sure I was informed, that didn't screw me over, stab me in the back, that loved me, that cared for me, that still call me and talk to me to this day. So obviously I did something right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what you said about taking care of your troops and everything, that is a very common theme in this show.
Good.
No matter, he hasn't watched any of the shows, which is good because it doesn't, he's not hyper focused on what's going on or what everybody else was saying. But that is a very common theme is, taking care of them and education. And I continually press that issue.
Yes.
Is do it while you're in, do it when you're out, continually do it because learning is key. I mean,
it's funny you say that because all three of my sons have gone into the Army. My youngest one is in, he's been in about 2 years now, and I said, look, as soon as you get there, go to school. I don't know if I can. Yes, you will. You don't realize how much of a 9 to 5, you got some evening time, you got weekend, you can go to school.
Yes.
While you're there, take advantage. That way you're not using any of your real benefits, using tuition assistance, that kind of stuff. Go to school.
Are they all still in?
2 of them are.
Okay.
One's getting ready to finish his first enlistment and is transferring, wants to put in a warrant packet. He's
Okay.
a helicopter mechanic. And then the other one is a track wheel mechanic, which is hilarious because there's a picture of him that I have of 3 running around Bradley. So for him to be working with Bradley.
Nice.
But he picked mechanic because he wants to go to medical school. And so the connection of things is really good. And I had a friend when I was working in Army medical recruiting and talking to a bunch of admissions people. Hey, they look for some stuff a little different, blah, blah, blah. You'll have the concepts.
Really?
So,
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I never thought of it that way.
Yep.
So, like as you talked about this, now you still had your why in staying in, but at a certain point you had to say, I'm done with this, at 22 years, and then continue from there. So what made you say, you know what, I'm going to hang this up, let the next rain come through, and I'm going to do something else?
I quit 3 times before I retired.
So he's got plenty of DD-214s. That's probably what it is.
I do have 3. I left once and said forget it, and then went HER and stayed. I left them, went to the reserves, left active duty in completely, and then the reserves actually called me. Hey, do you want to join? Hey, do you want to join? I said, look, if you can find me a unit that does in public affairs that's within X amount of or whatever I said was, yeah, go ahead. They sent me back to Fort Meade. I was in there. That unit closed.
Oh.
So, and then I was out again.
Huh.
Then somebody else called me. I asked them the same thing. You can find a unit close enough here. And ironically, it was a unit that I applied for to be the commander of, missed the interview, and then later joined the unit, later became the commander.
Huh. Wow.
So it wasn't ready for me the first time, but it was ready for me the second time. And again, that was the second time. Group of soldiers that I love to death, still talk to them to this day. A couple of them I got to go on active duty. I did some things for us, the commander, that to take care of them. 2 or 3 of them I remember specifically, but one guy's in California. Still talk to him and gone to visit him and his new girlfriend, I think fiance now. And
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
And he was originally from Pennsylvania. And hey, yeah.
And so, now with you working at the VA,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that? Because your why for continuing was 2005, but now you're at the VA, and that's got to be kind of rewarding as well, because you're kind of rewarding and kind of hurtful because you see all the things that you see, but at the same time, like, you get to help out a lot of people and you get to do a lot.
So I do, but the best thing is walking down the hallway and listening to the Army stories. So literally my job in public affairs is to tell stories. So I get to walk down the hallway. So I originally started in Vegas. I walked down, I remember standing at the canteen getting some food. Happened to see this guy. He had an SF hat on, but he was as old as my dad. So I had to do the math and kind of think of when was he going in? What the hell did he go through? As a black SF officer in the 60s time frame.
Yeah.
And I stopped and I talked to him for 20 minutes. He got out of line from getting his food. And we just talked and chit-chatted. And I was like, oh, that's the kind of cool stuff that I get to do. I ran into somebody from my hometown while I was there. I met this wonderful family member, who was actually a little girl. We're in December, Pearl Harbor. While her father was delivering fuel on a thing, and she heard the planes come across. So it's that kind of stuff that I get to hear in the VA and talk about and see. So the healthcare is just one thing and work is one thing, but I get to talk to my peers, my compadres, people that were in before me that can tell me stuff. You know, I remember this one guy coming in, oh, this is retired Sergeant Major such and such. Of course, I kind of stood a little bit at parade rest, said Roger Sergeant Major, blah, 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 and listened to exactly what he told me to do and what his expectations were, and I was like, okay. Roger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is going to be a little off topic.
Yeah.
But has anybody ever asked you to tell your story? Has anybody ever in a platform like this as to what your why is and why,
Never, because remember, as a broadcaster, I was behind the camera. I was the one doing the interviewing. Never liked to be on the other side. I like to be the guy,
Yes.
behind the camera, taking photographs, doing whatever. So no, sitting like this, absolutely not. I would shy away from this. Who wants to talk about themselves?
Well, apparently I do. Every one of my people is gonna, give a little post to me on Facebook and be like, "Yeah, this guy likes to talk."
Well, it's my job to talk. I'm supposed to talk. I'm supposed to teach other people how to talk. But yeah, do I like doing it? Absolutely not.
So these stories, I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear some of these stories, because this is part of my thing. Is everybody's got a story, and I want to bring that out as much as possible. If I could do this for a living, oh my God, it would be great. Talking about, you were talking before we even came on about, 2005 and giving me your story, but and then 2007 and so on. Mm-hmm. And it always intrigues me that everybody, even though we all had different jobs and we all did different things, we all have a common ground, and that's to do what we need to do and take care of each other. Mm-hmm. And, no matter what generation it is, no matter who it is, no matter what time frame or who you served with, It was always about taking care of each other, and that's what really matters. And I don't think a lot of people outside of our realm understand it. Unless you've been in the military or unless you spent significant time around the military, it was more you're in, I mean, there's contractors that I know that spent a lot of time that were never military, but they're almost like military.
Yep.
Because they were overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. But those of us that are in absolutely have that common ground. And I'm going to tell you a little step up from that. I got a guy that I work with, and he is from South Africa. And right before he graduated high school, it was still mandatory to do this, to go into the military. He said when he got here, and he was our photographer for the IW, or we did an IW calendar, and which is phenomenal. Like, I'm gonna have to give you one, like, because these things are funny. Yeah. But he said that he felt a sense of pride. He's trying to get his citizenship, but he felt a sense of pride, and he's never been from this country. But seeing all of us veterans with our camaraderie, laughing, joking, telling each other that we're, douchebags and everything else, like he was like, oh my goodness. And now, he's very thankful that he came into this country a couple years ago and sees how we are, because in his country, they don't have any of that. They don't have that national pride and that camaraderie, and you served in the military, then you're just one of those guys, like you're not in the upper echelon and it's just a whole different and a whole unique approach to what I didn't know, because I thought, I know that some countries don't really take pride in their military, but I never knew to that level. And then now I'm just like, man, I'm happy, because it's like us, the Brits and the Aussies, that are like really, really like, and I don't know if you've ever had a chance to have drinks with some of those guys, but holy hell, they're just like us, just a little bit. Nah, they're not rowdy, whatever.
Well, and the only other place I'm thinking about area that can be that way is certain sports, and I say certain sports. Mm-hmm. You see it, professional football. You see it. I think where I kind of honed it and learned it was wrestling and running track. And part of the reason I say that is because while it's a team sport, it's only you on that mat. Mm-hmm. If I messed up in my relay, I screwed my other three friends. My other three teammates. I didn't want to be say all the weight classes before me won. I didn't want to be the one guy to break the streak and lose, and things like that. And you only wrestle the people in your room, so you wrestled a couple weight classes up, sometimes a couple down, and you worked with each other because you wanted everybody to be better and be good. And so I got a great foundation there. And then running track in college that was a good one. My coach is still there in college to this day. Awesome guy. Really, really cool guy. And so I got it there, and then, the ROTC, then going to basic training, and then that was, yes, you just meet people and everything else, and connected with a guy from basic training a few years ago, from Guam.
Oh, wow.
So, there were 4 of us in basic training, one from Guam, one from Puerto Rico, one from Iowa, and me. And 2 of us went to Fort Lee, back when it was called Fort Lee, and then 2 went to Fort Meade. And then after that, we dispersed and lost touch. But
then when you reconnect, it's like you never. But you never miss a beat, right? Like it's like you guys were.
It was good. It was good to catch up with him, hear about his family and everything else, and he's just retired from the Army in Guam.
God, I mean, did you go to Guam to visit him?
No, I probably should.
You probably should.
I probably should.
Wow. So now changing gears a little.
Yeah, go back.
What did you enjoy about your time? Because, I get the camaraderie and all the silliness, but there's got to be a lot of stuff that you just absolutely, loved about it.
Loved about it?
Or even liked. There's different levels.
I laugh, and I say that because 2 of my best friends went at the same time as I did in '97. My best friend's girlfriend actually went first, enlisted and doing the ROTC thing, and that's how we kind of followed her. But we all went to basic training, and 2 of us went to the actual same basic training battalion, actually the same company, and had the same drill sergeants a few months apart, which is really weird. But we laugh about that. I don't know that there was much that we really liked about the whole thing, other than the people. I mean, I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed learning the job and everything else. I enjoyed doing things, new and different. I mean, how many lieutenants get thrown here's a Humvee, go drive and put water down at these tank trails, and I was flooring that thing, jumping there. You don't get to do that. I was an older college kid, but still, to do that, and we lived in a hotel, and this is all before we went to OBC, and then go to OBC and you meet folks. Like I met a guy when I was there doing that, and we became close, really good friends, and we met in Ranger School. Because he was in class before me, but we graduated together because he got recycled in Florida and showed up, and we're still friends to this day. He's still in though.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still in.
Wow.
He's a colonel. He's a colonel now.
Really?
Colonel.
Oh, wow.
To see if
so he probably did what?
Thing.
28 years?
Let's see. That was 02 to now, so he's probably on 22, 23
wow.
years now.
Wow.
Now, yeah.
That's awesome. That's good for him.
Absolutely. I'm glad he stuck it out.
So the little things. Wait. I'm gonna go back a little.
Yeah.
So were you a Ranger? Did you?
I passed Ranger School. Sure did.
Yeah.
Straight through. I was a lucky one. It was all luck. It was all luck. Luck and heart.
That's what I've heard. It's all mental. I mean, my buddy who was a Green Beret was, he said it was just all mental.
My buddy did that too, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that one.
Did you enjoy it? I mean, there's probably different levels of enjoyment there. I mean, you got to be crazy to enjoy it.
I'm a little crazy. My dad tells me I'm crazy for jumping out of airplanes. I get it. That kind of stuff. I remember getting smoked doing flutter kicks. And see, Sergeant Britt, I remember his name. His name was Sergeant Britt. And I just watched, I was like, how do you keep going? Because my legs were done. There's no doing anymore. You're not going to yell at me. I'm not going to do anymore. He was like, I just practiced. I kept doing it because he was still going. He said, I couldn't do it first either. I said, okay. I said, I guess I had to practice. As I'm getting smoked, I'm having this conversation. I mean, there's stuff like that. But embrace the suck. It was.
Yeah, that is true. You can't really, you just got to push through it sometimes, but it does suck.
It's hard. And in the mountains, RI came up to me and told me a little story about his time and said, all right, this is what you say. You say, ask me tomorrow. Because he asked me if I wanted to quit. And I just looked at him kind of funny. And then he told me the story. I said, ask me. And I got it. I said, ask me tomorrow. He found me the next day. He said, you want to quit? I said, ask me tomorrow.
Hey, but that's a way to get through. That is a way to get through. That is a coping mechanism in that moment,
It sure was.
Because they break you down and then they build you back up.
But here's the worst part. So the last field problem is 10 days in the field and everything else. So we jumped in. We're doing our thing. I think I was in leadership position the second time. And Ari goes, damn good job. I said, oh shit, I did a good job. That means I passed. I got my other go. But I was stuck in the field for 9 days. But again, you're stuck in the field, but now it's your turn to help everybody else. Because I knew that I had done a good job. I wasn't going to be in leadership anymore. So now it was about helping the next person each and every time to get through, to get their go and everything else. So that's been a long time. But walking through that crazy stuff, yeah, it's funny. I mean, you're in a boat. You're on the sides of the thing, your legs in the water. You look on the bank and you see an alligator. The water moccasins in the thing. And you're like, I'm like, my foot is in this water. What if an alligator comes and gets my foot? That's the stuff I was thinking about as I'm going down, rowing. And then we get out and we walk, and they stop the patrol. I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? You didn't see that rattlesnake you stepped over? Nope. You told me to march. I'm marching that way. I'm tired. I'm going. I didn't pay attention to none of that stuff. Wow. So that was you said it was fun. Yeah, it was just hilarious.
After the fact, you're like, holy hell.
Yes. Tons of stories. Oh, my buddy that's still in, him and I were talking in patrol base, goofing off, really. Supposed to be pulling security. And all of a sudden we heard, boom! Weapon fell and everything. Like, what the hell? Guy standing next to us fell asleep and fell over. Still knocked out on the ground. I was like, wow. I said, yeah, this is nuts. Yeah. So it was fun once you got through it, and there were times along the
Okay. So what were the fun times in doing AFN? Because as we talked about that, he got a chance to be a broadcaster in Korea and in several different places. So, what was the fun in that? Because it seems like that would be fun. This is, this is like this.
It was just like
except
this.
You don't have this crap going on.
Exactly. But you have the board and you're working and everything. I think here's the lucky thing about enlisting when I did and not knowing who was there. The NCOs were all civilians that worked for Armed Forces Radio in DC and the TV, and they were like real bigwig people. One was a news producer for NBC station in DC. Had no idea that they were really kind of teaching me and influencing me. I was just going to drill every once a month and just doing what I was told. But I think learning those things and realizing that I picked them up and was understanding what was happening was really cool. And then I got to go do it in places that most people don't get to travel. I went to Korea, my first AT in '98. I went to Panama the year after that. They went to Germany. I couldn't go because of school or something. And then I switched and went to ROTC. And then that second stint, we went to Poland. I went to Canada. I just got to do a whole bunch of traveling and seeing stuff, in the midst of a couple deployments. And, I went to Korea 3 times for training. Yeah, that was wild. That's a long flight 6 times. I mean, whew.
It's a long flight. I'm going to tell you it's a long flight hungover.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah. You drank on the plane on the way over, you went to sleep, you watched a couple movies, woke back up, and you're still flying. Yeah, absolutely.
I got to take a long flight in a month, so I'm like, I love that because it's free drinks. So, did you, were you on the actual AFN radio, or were you just a broadcaster? Not a broadcaster, but the behind the scenes guy.
No, I got to do everything.
Really?
Whether it was I was lucky, whether I was good enough, whether I just volunteered. I literally was on Southern Command Network doing the afternoon show from 12 to 2. Loved it. So the active duty guy who was supposed to be there, he left me and went off, and I was doing the show myself. In Korea, I was separated from the group and went down to Camp Humphreys. And so there was a station commander there, and there was a soldier there, and I just fell right in. I went out and did my stories and would come back and accompany them and had to do all my editing and everything else. I was just an extra body there doing all the work. And they put me to work.
So that's a little bit of lucky, right timing, right everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But did you get to interview anybody that was pretty cool?
No,
just regular
really.
normal interviews.
Just
it doesn't mean that it's not bad, because you have your good times.
No, one of the best jobs I did have right before the end was I was in Korea. Because I was the officer, I was training general officers how to do better on camera. So I got to be in a closed room with them, record them, kind of talk, and go, hey, well, this is what you need to do better. This is the kind of things you need to say. You need to watch your tone or put in a command message here and that. So that was really cool to be, to tell them what right looks like, and to somebody like that. But hey, it was a benefit. It was a great thing. So yeah. Nice.
That seems pretty interesting. That seems like it would be a cool little gig to just kind of hang out and kind of direct people to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. Because it probably took you a while to get to that point too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was 18 years in at that point. But because I was the commander of the public affairs detachment, I was the guy responsible for doing it.
So now that you do this, how does that translate over? Is it the same kind of stuff that you're doing? Is it a little different? Is it?
So it's inside. Well. And I was going to bring this up earlier. You said something about the why and telling stories. One of the big things that I'm might as well put the plug in for it and do now is My Life, My Story is something that VA does.
Okay.
So Tucson, we're doing it a little differently, and I'm using our Twitter page to kind of put prompts out there so that folks can answer the questions. Like our first one out there is about the Berlin Wall, because it fell in November in 80-something, in mid-80s. 89, I think. And the prompt out there is, were you in Germany at the time, serving in the Army when it happened? Or, were you in the Army and you remember this happening? What did that mean to you for that wall to come down? And so prompts like that, I'm going throughout the year. So we're going to do 26 of them throughout 2025. every 2 weeks, put one out there so people can kind of tell their stories. Different kind of stories, whether military related, historical events related, observance related, that kind of thing. But we're starting with stories that we already have kind of in the queue that people have given us. One is telling about his father's, he calls it his $1 million education, as he enlisted in the air pilot program, back in Michigan, fresh out of high school, 17, and then ended up getting commissioned, and was a pilot and was doing World War II, flying anti-sub things. So I get to tell that story. Wow. Another one, I got to see preview a movie that this guy is doing on one of our, Mr. Horn, a World War II guy who was a POW, and kind of hear his story of going through all that stuff. And I think this is the second kind of video movie made about him and whatnot. And this guy is, he's about to turn 100 or 101, something like that. And he still volunteers at the VA.
Really?
So, again, like I said about meeting people in the hallway, I get to meet people and tell those stories. So this is the cool part. This is what I like to do more about telling the stories. Then the other stuff is command information, the stuff that you see on the TV screens, or, social media posts about services that we offer, or about donations that we get. That's the next thing we're going to do. So we get donations at the Center for Civic Development, I forget it, Volunteer Services is what it's called. And so one of the things we're going to do now is, as we get this stuff in, we're going to try to do a story on the end user of who received this gift, this donation, and what did it mean to them. So I'd rather not do all the fun stuff.
Oh man, that sounds exciting to me. Like, are you guys hiring? Like, I'm down.
Actually, we did just hire somebody. They just submitted an offer. We'll see if they accept the offer and come, and then we'll be a team of 3 instead of being a team of 2. Last year, it was a team of 1 there working, so we're getting on.
You got a team of 4. You need to reach out.
Yeah. But one thing that the other guy did, who was there before me doing this all by himself, and I don't know how he did it, was a lot of outreach things. So you within Reverend Warriors coming, he goes out everywhere, and he has connections everywhere, and everybody knows him. And he's one of the guys that I kind of want to tell his story to and come to your podcast, because he has a great one that I don't want to divulge and let him say, but I encouraged him to get in contact with you to tell his story, because the VA means a lot to him because of what it did for him as a person, individual. And then he started working there,
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, we had another story. See, I get to talking.
But it's good. These are good. These are great stories.
Somebody just shared one where a guy hated the VA, was mad at the healthcare system, went out in the community, and now he comes back, and now he gets his healthcare back at the VA, and he's a champion for whole health for the VA. So it's just something about being within those doors. And even if you have struggles, call somebody. The guy I was telling you, Orlando, people call him or meet him out in the community at an outreach event and say, hey, I'm having this problem. He gets their number, he tracks it down, he connects with the right person. One of the big things is we call you back and go, hey, I talked to so-and-so, they're looking into your problem, blah, 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 blah. Because we can't access the records because of law, but other people can, and all you have to do is connect people. And I understand, because I get my healthcare there too, I understand the frustration. Funny story, I was in Vegas at the VA, a guy that complains all the time called, and he got sent to me. I talked to him for 53 minutes. At the end of it, it started with complaining. At the end of it, he was like, you have my number, call me. I was like, okay. It's just, you need somebody to listen sometime. You need somebody to just help you navigate and say, this is going to be okay. Okay, we all know this in the military. That's the bad thing. We all know this. Follow orders, do all these other things. Yes, but it also kind of works out at the end.
Yeah.
The bad days are also not that bad.
And sometimes it takes a little bit of a personality to help somebody else out. And it's just a small little personality that actually gives a crap, This isn't military related, but I had a similar issue today where I'm working with other individuals, and our company and their company don't really have a great relation. And I sit there and have a 10-minute conversation with this lady, and she's willing to help out with anything and everything. 'Cause all it was just be personable, just like show, like there's a bit of care in there, and once you have that care, I mean, come on, that's what matters. And I say this a lot And whether I post something on Facebook, Irreverent Warriors, or even in here, like, it doesn't matter. We all need to take care of each other, and we should all just love each other. Because ultimately, we all have a story. We all want to tell that story. Some people don't, but you know, it's the little things that make a huge difference in these people's lives.
Yep.
I actually, and I'm going to say this on here too. I've actually looked several times at the VA for positions because I want to eventually get there. Right now, I'm having a lot of fun traveling and doing what I'm doing. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't, but it is something because every time I do go in there for care, like I pass by and I see a group of older gentlemen just sitting there they didn't know each other, but now they're laughing and joking or just sitting there and talking and quietly. Or you have those guys that are young guys they're mad at the world for a small brief second until they recognize a patch, and then all of a sudden they start talking. And that is what really gets me going, because I love it. I love just being an observer and watching these people do this. And that's why I'm like, oh my God.
And there are so many people there. I think of this one guy who actually he's a peer specialist. As you talk about different jobs, to really get to know folks and go, hey, let me help you manage this, or navigate your problem, whatever. He actually ended up being not only for the VISN, which is like the brigade or higher headquarters for us, they're our peer specialist of the year, then VISN's, and he was actually the national peer specialist of the year. And he's the guy that
He's the one that spoke. Okay, he's the one that spoke. Yeah.
And you talking about somebody who cares, who has a big heart and everything else. Oh my God, there's nobody that cares more than him. And there are a lot of people like that within the system. But again, we're looking at a big system.
Yeah.
Somebody had a complaint the other night, and it was about their benefits. But because we're VHA, the health side, they're mad at the VA as a whole, and that's really the benefit side. But we're one group. We got to put our hands around each other and go and reach out to them as well. And the cemeteries is part of it. But when people see VA, it's just one VA, you're the whole big system, and I get it. And yell at me. Yell at me, cuss me out, do whatever. And then after you're done with that, I'm going to say, all right, so how can we make this better for you? Get your anger out, yell at me, whatever. It's not going to hurt me. I know you're not mad at me, Jason Bloom, individually, because I didn't do anything to you.
Yeah, you're mad at the system, and I get it.
How do we help you?
And I think what I've seen lately through the transition of the VA is that it's gotten a lot better because it got a lot of congressional recognition and saying, hey, we need to change the system and we need to take care of our vets better. And so I have seen and I've heard a lot of other stories from a lot of veterans, and especially with these IW hikes, you definitely get the people who you can easily tell that they haven't been to the VA in a while because they're angry. But then you got the individuals that are constantly going to the VA because they're in pain, they're missing limbs, and they tell great stories of the VA and the care and how people are with them. Are you still going to get the bad apples?
Absolutely.
Yes, which is unfortunate. But, the VA has made a lot of progress and change and stuff, which is great, which is absolutely great.
And it's funny you say that because I've seen a couple compliments and emails from people that said, I've stayed away for 10 years. When I came back, met this lady who had been getting care at the VA for 40 years. When she says that the care is good, I believe and trust in her.
Yes.
And her, as a female, that the care is good and she's getting what she needs.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could care less about anybody else that complains because she's been there for for decades.
Years.
Yes. So who do I trust or believe more, her or, like I said, somebody just has one little hiccup that they may be pissed off about, but as a whole, they're getting the care that they need. The other big thing is, it's free health care. That's the other thing that loses me.
Yeah.
There's so many people that go, oh, I don't want to go to the VA, blah, 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 blah. You can still have your own civilian or work health care, but enroll there too, because what if something happens and all of a sudden your health care doesn't pay for something and you have this one? Or what if you go this one and it just...
I never thought about that because I do have individuals that I know that are like, why would I go to the... But that makes sense, whether it be a big surgery or something, why go to your civilian when you're going to pay out the wazoo when you can just...
And what I've seen a lot, I've heard stories over the last couple of years where, say I'm 70 years old and I come up with cancer and I go, I try to go to the VA and then it's a no because you weren't there before getting the care. And so one thing I'm going to push in 2025 and try to start this campaign is a take care of yourself campaign, where I just want veterans to do one primary care appointment. That's it. I can care less about years later. You've done one. That means you've enrolled in the system. You've gone and seen a doctor once. You like it. Like it being in the military. Oh, you passed that first enlistment. Oh, it wasn't that bad. And you stayed X amount of years. So maybe you'll stay. But at least it costs you nothing to register and to go to a doctor's appointment other than a little bit of time to go.
I'll push that too. I'll push that too.
It's too easy.
You guys are hearing this right now. Just go get your health care. Go get one appointment. And you made a good point earlier about the 26 weeks or 26 times every year, every other week. I don't have a Twitter, so I need to hop on so I can see these stories or see what people are posting, because I definitely want to see some of this stuff, because to me that fascinates me. Like I if I could get that 101-year-old guy to come sit down and just tell me one story, one story from World War II, like I'd be the happiest guy in the world.
I will find him. I'll go to the volunteer services person and leave him a note and leave your number and everything else. And next time he comes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something, and I will say, hey, this guy wants to talk to you, and he'll be glad to do it.
Oh man, I would enjoy that. I would go wherever he wanted to go, like, because that's one thing. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews in the sense of a generational area of from our age, little bit older, a little bit younger, but not much. Like I want somebody that's absolutely, that World War II, or somebody who just came in. Like I need to do that as well, because they have fresh minds. They see things that are different, But then you got those individuals that are 100 years old, and they've seen the evolution of, I mean, the simplest things, civilization and airplanes, and
of how boots have changed.
Oh my God, I could not imagine.
Boots have changed to the tennis shoe style boots that they wear now, compared to doing PT and combat boots.
I joined in '98, so I know how thin they were and grow, and I was Air Force, so come on, like, you know what I mean? Like I was Air Force, and I still got that.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually have really nice tennis shoes and whatever, but yeah.
But I think those stories. Yes, definitely look in the thing. You can get more stories. Use those people. Reach out to those people. Connect you with them. But the cool thing is, what if we get too many stories? And then the question is, how do we publish those? Do we figure out some kind of book or something to do or to give, or do we do it by year?
Just publish and go. Like, I mean,
awesome would that be?
That would be amazing. Just a book
stories
every year of generational stories, like not just one set generation or one set war, but from top to bottom. 2025 complete book.
Yes.
2026 same thing.
Yes.
See, I like this. I really like this. Like I want to be a part of this. Like how can I help and volunteer?
Oh, there are definitely volunteer opportunities.
Okay, I'm down.
I will get you in touch with CDC for volunteer opportunities. But even with those stories, so I have some of those guided stories, but the other ones are to sprinkle in the how was your health care, how was your treatment, and to sprinkle those stories in, because then you have an audience of people seeing this, and then, Harvey Horn, he still goes to stuff. He was going to PTSD group in his 90s.
That is amazing.
So if he can do it, you can do it. You can do it. If he's doing it in his 90s.
And that's crazy. Those PTS groups, I mean, I would want to be a fly on the wall or somebody that just observes, because like it's a whole different era of what he dealt with, whether Korean War, World War II, like, I mean, I can only imagine it was still shell shock. Like they didn't have PTSD. So, okay, go lay down and come back, or, whatever, or get back in,
Well, look at our deployments compared to World War II, where they went for years and stayed and then came back, versus, we go for 9 months, we go for 12 months, we go for 6 months, and then you come back. That's way different.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could be gone for years.
And they had a family still with them. They had kids that they were, still supporting. I couldn't even imagine. Like, no, like you're right. It's a whole different world.
Yes.
Whole different world. See that? Oh man, that excites me for you and seeing that, because that is, I mean, I just want to read these stories. Like, he's got a phenomenal job. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
So it's funny because when I was in the Army, we said that all the time. Being a broadcaster in the Army was the best job, period. Because we get to go see everything and talk to everybody about what they do in the service. You know, and we're hearing that, so we get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, from interviewing doctors about their stories and how and why they came in, whether some were straight out of school and some were at the end of their careers, civilian, ready to retire, and they still caught it in at like 40 or some of them even 50 because of their specialty to come in because they've always had this yearning to serve. You know, I've got to talk to the private that was doing this to, again, that SF guy that did stuff back in Vietnam, like SS in Vietnam going through. What?
I couldn't even imagine. I could not even imagine.
Yes.
The inception of SF, you know, like
yes.
Primitive SF.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna reel this back in. Back in because I love this, and we can go on for hours about this. But back to your career and your story.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about what you like, what you enjoyed, but what did you dislike, or did you have any regrets? Because I mean, or would there be something that you would change? Because you know, obviously we know there's a difference between regret and change, but is there anything in there? Because
I regret the soldiers that I lost. You know, one that I had to deal with all the household effects when I first got the third ID. The two I lost in combat. The four I lost to suicide after the fact. Those are probably the only regrets that I have. The other crazy stuff really doesn't matter when it comes to their lives. I think about them, I still see their faces and everything else, and you know, wonder if I could have talked to them and asked them the question, why was it this bad, or how did it go? And knowing that I know people that have dealt with it closely, you know, even with an attempt or wanting to, and talking through them with them. I had a friend this year that said he was going to do it, and you know what? He was in the Army for a long time. He kind of got me to work at the VA, and I didn't argue with him. I didn't tell him no. I said, you know, if you do that, I'm going to miss you. I love you. And I'd really rather you go get help than to go ahead and do it. But I know once he makes up his mind on something, there is no changing it. So about every week I would just text him and ask him how he was doing. And that's all I did. And he went and got help himself. He made it through it. And he is so much happier and so much better that he didn't go that route. But because I've known him for, how long? Since about 96-ish. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, all right, I got you. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, that's the only regret that I have is that one.
I think that's the hardest thing, is dealing with that and seeing that. Active duty for so many years, you see that. You see the deaths. You see the, being in Afghanistan and Iraq. And this was a little somber, so I apologize.
No, sorry.
But,
yeah.
You see the fallen soldier ceremonies, there's the fallen warrior ceremonies, and you see those things, and you get a big grasp as to what life is really about. And, that this is why I'm so active in, wanting to be a part of IW, wanting to, do suicide awareness in any which way, shape, or form, because I've had friends, and like we had that conversation before, and I've brought it up in here. That really hurts me. That really hurts me. And losing somebody that, what if I could have made that call back, and I didn't because I was wrapped up in my own little world, And this is why I appreciate that you said that, because it does impact a lot of us. And I hope we are doing our IW hike in March this coming year, and I hope that you can be a part of it and join us, because you meet these people that are phenomenal, and the sole purpose is, that camaraderie. But you hear the stories of these people that come out there, and they have such a great time. But then at the end of it, one guy this year had talked about some real life stuff and why he does it, because he's got a sense of purpose now, and all because of this group that just does a hike and does whatever. Wow. And now it's a renewed sense of life in him. And it's wonderful to hear those stories, because nobody knows what you're going through. You laugh, you joke. Look at Robin Williams. Look at some of my best friends that some really close friends that will joke, all day long, and then all of a sudden they get home and they're just, and that's why we need to care for each other and take care of each other. And I try to preach this quite often in this thing, because it makes a difference.
Well, you mentioned the Reverend Warrior Walk, and when you all came, I just walked from you coming to the entrance around to the flagpole and back around, and the people that seeing other VA employees there put a smile on my face. There were a handful of those. Just walking, the joy, the costumes, the music, was just so much fun. And I put myself in the frame of mind of, I'm doing a foot march again. But I don't have my rucksack on. And I'm walking, but I'm enjoying walking for the first time. Because the other walking isn't fun, but had fun. And I was with you all for a very short period of time and smiled. And when I left, I called my dad and said, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened. This was amazing, and I enjoyed going to work today." Oh, and that was going to work today on a Saturday. So.
And this is great. And to Sotelo, kudos on him for helping us get this. And I hope next year we're not going to do it in that path to where we go through the VA. We're going to try to do a different path. But I'm excited. It's our 10th year anniversary. This is literally my first year. Okay. A little, and I'm probably going to say this, and I probably shouldn't, but a little spoiler is I'm probably soon going to take over IW. And I want March to be a phenomenal. We had 150 something registered, 125 were there. I want the 10-year anniversary to be 500 people. I want 1,000 people. I don't care. Let's make this happen, whatever age, whatever, whatever, let's do this. Because to me, this is very important. This is why I do the What's Your Why, because of my buddy who, committed suicide. And I want everybody to have that sense of purpose, to have, just a little bit of, hey,
so
we're
can
here.
we recruit people from Huachuca and Davis-Monthan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have somebody right now in the committee that is going to be my active duty liaison at Davis-Monthan. I can get somebody at Fort Huachuca. We will do this.
I know the public affairs office at Huachuca said to come down and we can use their thing, and they got some radio stations down there, and that community service and the rest of them down that way are gung-ho for stuff like this.
And we have people that come up from there. So IW this year had people coming. I saw these people in here and in San Antonio. So I did back to back IWs. So I did Tucson. This was my first hike, and I was a part of the committee because I asked if they needed help, and I was able to help. I did Phoenix the very next week, and then I got lucky to go on a business trip to Texas. And San Antonio was that weekend. And I'm from San Antonio. So I got to go home, I got to go do business, and I got to hang out with all these wonderful people that I'm making friends with that hopefully will get to see this.
Oh my God.
And
yes.
with seeing this, I'm going back to San Antonio in 2 weeks, right after Christmas. And one of the guys is there's a few guys that I'm going to do interviews with for this podcast. One of them is going to tell a story about, getting blown up and losing his leg. And this is what I want, But I'm going to recruit them to come over here for my hike because I'm like, I'm going to go to yours next year. You better come to mine. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of these guys just travel for this. And I met people from in the Tucson hike and the San Antonio hike, from Detroit, from Florida, from California, from Wyoming, from all throughout Texas. I mean, Texas is a prideful state when it comes to IW, when it comes to just military members in general. And, the Tucson hike, the Phoenix hike has local, and they have some individuals that come down from different places, Vegas, Pennsylvania, and that type of stuff. But I want to make this great. I mean, I need to show you the calendar that we made, as a fundraiser. And and I will post this on the YouTube and on my Facebook page, but it is a calendar where it's just goofiness and just craziness. And I'm in a cowboy hat, no shirt, and silkies, getting shot with a heart arrow on my butt as February, and that's what it's about, because I don't care. Like, I don't care about anything. Like, let's do this, And it's just, overall for that purpose is, let's raise awareness for these individuals, because we're not at 22. We're more like at 44. 44 people a day, 44 military members a day, 44 veterans, not military members, veterans. That's a lot. That is a lot of people. And so I just want, if we can save one to all of them, like, that's my goal. That's what I want, And so I this is why I appreciate this. This is why I appreciate this, because I want to be more of an outreach. I want to do more. I was just talking to my boss, as I was telling you, about, if I could do this would be amazing. Yeah. And she was joking with me. She was like, you're gonna blow up, blah blah blah. And I was like, she was like, you're gonna end up leaving me. And I was like, but it would be my dream job to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Like, if I could, but for me, it's not about the job. It's about bringing that awareness to people, bringing that awareness, not just to our group, but to family and friends, to see the signs, to help, to do the same thing, to push them, to say, hey, go get that help. Just get a little bit of help and see what that does. Because to me, that makes the biggest difference.
Huge.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little choked up too. But as we start wrapping this, and usually I go off of a little script, but we definitely veered off that script. We veered off that script, but I appreciate it because it gives me a little more sense of what this is about, what you bring to the table, what we're doing collaboratively. But as we're closing out, I'm going to ask a couple small little questions.
Okay.
What are your fondest memories or leaders? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be one, but like, I know you have one because I see that on your face.
He just texted me yesterday. Well, actually, all right. This is how I can tell this story. So, as an officer, blah, 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 you have the academies and, for the West Point, they call them ring knockers and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to be a little arrogant and everything else. My entire chain of command was West Pointers. And you would have never known it.
Really?
Phenomenal people. I have my old commander, like I said, I just texted him yesterday. Still talk to him all the time. My battalion commander, I've called him for advice just this last year, early this year. The other one, our brigade commander that retired as a 3-star. I made him reach out and talk to him. I mean, like the S3, the XO, like all of them were, and I would have never known.
Really? Wow.
They were just phenomenal people. So when you say it was that group, but screw the officers aside. My claim to fame, what I like to say is every single one of my first sergeants in my battalion made sergeant major. So that's a bigger. I wear more pride about that than anything, and I had nothing to do with it. But just the fact that they were all that good
Yeah.
And they all of them taught me something. Every one of those first sergeants taught me something. And then they were able to go on and do something big. So I guess those are some of those things when I look back at the leaders and everything else. And all I had to do was sit back and listen and soak it all in. That's all I had to do. Listen. And then go do it. And they led me the right way. They told me the right things to do, everything. When I was a platoon leader, I had, now my own platoon in first platoon Alpha Company, 37 Infantry, I had 4 platoon sergeants during a 9-month period. It's usually the other way around. You have more platoon leaders, right? But not only did I have theirs, I went and asked the other ones questions. Second platoon sergeant, hey, can you help me out with this? What am I doing? What am I? Third platoon, hey, the other 2 aren't here. Can you help? Can you help me? Yeah. And I still talk to them and still ask them questions. But it's that's one of the best things when you talk about leaders. It was something about that group during that time, and all those brigade commanders during that time all became general officers. It was just something about that time, that era, that place that was just special. And I thought having going to an historically black college and having at that time the most general officers come out of there, the most black general officers coming out of one school. I think it was like 8 at the time. You know,
Wow.
and being able to talk to them, you know, having access to them, and because of that, I mean, Facebook friends and chit chat and talk, and you can. What lieutenant, 3rd ID, heard he was there? The 4-star, Force Com commander was there, happened to be from my school. I ran across the golf course to the thing. All these colonels, full board colonels are sitting there talking to him. I walked up to his wife and said, hey, you remember me from last year at the military ball? Oh yeah. She calls her husband over to talk to me, and all these colonels are looking at, who is this butterbar talking to a 4-star? And how the hell does he have this audacity
To cut him off.
The wife cut him off.
Yeah.
Hey, how you been? It was, how you been? What's going on? The second time that happened to me, I'm walking, getting ready to do an interview. The military district of Washington commander comes up. He happened to be from 3rd ID. He's 2-star at the time. Man, he goes, hey, how you been? I remember you. We start laughing and joking, walking down the hallway. Oh my gosh. And it was just so, again, easy to talk to. But I was so lucky with that group, that team, those people.
Yes.
I even was invited to go be the aide, and I actually turned it down because one of the times I got out of the Army, one of my soldiers called. The 3-star commander wanted other 3rd ID people around him. I was going to get ready to go be his aide and go interview for the job. My soldier was pushing for it because he was his NCO, and talked to my family and was like, no, we're getting out. That would have been because of that group of people, and they looked out for each other. And they taught me what right looks like.
Yeah.
I was just blessed and lucky. Period.
That is awesome.
Period. That's it.
All right. As we're wrapping up, last question. Promise you.
Okay.
Any advice for not just the people that are watching, but for those past, present, or future individuals that are, whether they're in, whether they're retired, whether they're about to join, do you have any advice for anybody? Any veteran, anything?
Well, my advice personally and professionally is sign up for VA healthcare.
There you go.
Period.
Yeah, there you go.
Simple. When I originally should have signed up and put in my paperwork, I didn't. Again, one of my good friends, the one I was telling you about earlier, yelled at me for about a month and told me to do it, and I refiled. Best decision ever that I ever made is the bottom line. Well, probably the second best decision. The marriages. Probably.
Yeah, I know. I know where you're going.
The second best decision I ever made. But the other ones I had 3 kids go in. 3 boys go into the military. And the youngest one's had some challenges where all the NCOs are gone. There's a specialist in charge. And I was like, well, do you know what to do? Well, you step up and do it. and that kind of thing. Take the bull by the horns. Read the regulations, everything. Because the one thing that I did notice that NCOs do, it's, oh, I was trained to do it this way. Okay, you were trained to do it. What's the regulations say? Open the book. Read the book. Validate. Look at what you're doing. Oh, whoops, we're supposed to do it this way. My bad. So I would say learn. Never stop learning is the probably the best advice. Never stop learning. If you think you know it, go back and look in the book and double check. And then go, okay, all right, I still got it. Nothing's changed, because the other thing, regulations do change, like wearing beards and all this stuff. And whoops, that changed 2 years ago.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Go back and read. That's about it.
Yeah.
But most importantly, have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun. It's something I say all the time, whether we're on a meeting at work, or I'm talking to somebody, or get off the phone, or have fun. Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
I can definitely echo that. Have fun. There's way too much fun to be had out there.
Yes.
As we talked about, when he came into my cave, he saw something that he liked in the past. But I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and
Pleasure.
I know the viewers will like this. I definitely enjoyed every bit of it. As a token, I do, as you can see, I'm wearing my shirt, my What's Your Why podcast. But here's a shirt for you.
No problem.
So and send people my way, especially
I send people your way.
especially the World War II vet, because I would love to do that.
You'll be number one.
I love this. I will go anywhere and travel anywhere. Like I said, I'm going to different places and doing different things with other individuals. Every time I travel, I try to get one whenever I was in Spokane, Washington a couple weeks ago. And my buddy couldn't do it because he was working. He got, whatever, which is fine. I'll get back there. It's one of those things where I want to be able to travel and do this and then enjoy the rest of my time there. So going to San Antonio, I will have a few. Yeah.
I'm sure.
So, but I really appreciate this. It was great interviewing him. We may have other conversations, him on another show to discuss some other stuff that's going on with some initiatives that the VA is doing. And I definitely would like to go down to Sierra Vista and have that conversation, I do want to say, again, I kind of have a little spoiler that I just, said, and I wasn't going to, because Luis, I was going to have Luis, but, Luis, I'm sorry, Luis. IW people, I'm sorry. But thank you for watching again. This was a great episode, a lot of information, a lot of good times. And like, share, subscribe, and leave comments, please. Let me know what I need to improve on. Let me know what I don't need to improve on. Let me know if I need to keep my mouth shut every once in a while. It's not going to happen, so... But love you guys. You guys take care, and you guys be safe. And first and foremost, seek that help if you need it, please. It's important. It's important to yourself, your family, and guys like us. So,
Absolutely.
all right, take care.